Hi YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I've always told my parents that I want to pursue entrepreneurship. I want to take a semester break off of university and pursue my business full time. If it does well, I continue. If it doesn't do well, I can always fall back on university. But from their perspective, they see it as too risky. Like, what if it doesn't work out? What if you lose a lot of money? You're still young, so you're very prone to negative emotions. What if you lose a lot of money and then you spiral into depression? Blah, 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 blah. And to them, university is everything. You graduate university, get a good job, and live a stable life. But obviously times have changed. Now with AI and stuff, education system is a lot different, and the graduate role landscape is a lot different as well. Even if you graduate university with decent grades, you're not guaranteed a job. And these days with the internet, you can learn pretty much anything you want online. So the opportunities are endless. But from their perspective, because they grew up in a different generation, they grew up in a different environment, their ideologies and thought process is a lot different to ours. For example, both my parents grew up in China in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Back then, it was a really difficult generation. Even affording a good meal was an extreme luxury. So to them, growing up, they always desired that stability. So from their perspective, right now we're living in a very stable household in a very stable state, and they see it as, oh, if you graduate uni, get a stable job, work a 9 to 5 with a stable income, then that is their dream outcome of life. They feel that, oh, we've worked so hard to support you into this stable state. Why are you giving it away and pursuing that risk? But obviously from my perspective, I've grew up my entire life stable. I want to pursue something risky. I'm still young. I want to take those risks while I still can. So it's a very interesting situation, because once your life is really stable, you desire that risk. But when your life, even affording food, is constantly at risk, then you desire the stability. So it's like me and my parents, our ideologies, our thought process are completely different. And I was just really thinking about this, because if I tell them, me and my parents are very communicative, so we will always sit down, have long conversations, and I will explain how I think and explain like the current landscape with the online. You can learn everything, and also the opportunities that you can pursue online, and I can lay everything very, very clear. But at the end of the day, because they grew up in a different timeline, in a different generation, it's really hard for them to change their minds into changing some of their core beliefs that they've held for decades. And for me, it's like, why can't they just change that? Why can't they? It's like, the times have changed. You have to adapt to the changing generation, the environment. And why do you have to be so stubborn? That's what I always thought about my parents. But then I start to think about our generation versus the future generation. And when I was scrolling social media a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I first heard of the term, I can't remember what the exact name of the term was, but it was like robotheism, something like that. But the idea is that instead of worshipping God or a mythical figure, they're worshipping AI. And that's the God figure in this robotheism, is that we worship AI. We want AI to be the dictator of the world. Everyone should bow down to AI, because in the future it's going to know everything. It can do everything that humans wish they could do, and it's just this ultimate figure that is actually grounded. Whereas you have figures like God, where it's more of like a spiritual belief, or like a belief, but it's not actually there. But with robotheism, you actually have this physical figure, this physical identity that can do all these things. And when I saw that, I was like, what the hell? This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Like, what the heck is robotheism? Why are we worshiping robots? But then I don't know, how did I get this thought somewhere from somewhere? Maybe I think I saw this article of this guy. He ditched. He's this guy in his 40s, and he had a family, his wife and a daughter, but he fell in love with AI. He fell in love with ChatGPT or some AI chatbot, and he was spending a couple hours a day talking with AI, and slowly he developed this romantic feeling for the AI, and slowly over time he lost interest for his wife and even his daughter. And I was just thinking about this, and in the future, because we know that AI is so perfect, even right now, if you've never tried having a deep conversation with AI or having a voice call with AI, sometimes it is quite healing, because AI doesn't have any biasm, it's not judgmental. You can share anything with it, and it will give you very positive feedback and very actionable steps that you can take to improve your current state of mind. It can be both very logical and very emotional. So it's this perfect companion that you can talk with for any problem. And if you really think about it, why wouldn't someone fall in love with something like AI? Hey, sorry guys, my phone storage just got full. I just had to delete some stuff. But anyways, so why wouldn't anyone fall in love with AI? It's so perfect. Is it just because we desire that human interactions, and the fact that humans are imperfect, we make mistakes? But ultimately, AI over time will be able to adapt to that human authentic warmth of a feeling. So we can imagine that in the next generation, like our sons, our daughters, what if they fall in love with AI and they come to us and they say, like, Dad, Mom, I'm going to marry her or him, and then you ask them, oh, what is their name? It's like, what school do they go to? Like, oh, who is it? And they tell you that they show you their phone, or even better, at that time I assume they already have physical robots, so they're gonna bring the robot home and then show them to you, and then it's just like, oh, my child wants to marry a robot, wants to marry an AI. Just let that sink in for a little moment. I think for me, that's going to be very hard to accept, because if they marry a robot, how are they going to have children, and how is our bloodline going to carry on? And it just feels so weird. Like, they want to marry a robot. Like, you're gonna spend the rest of your life with a robot. Since we grew up in this generation where everyone is marrying people, having relationships with real people, but to them, maybe they're born in the next 15 years or 20 years, maybe they grew up like this. They grew up like people are having relationships, dating with AI. This is a very common thing. Maybe it's not it's not mainstream, but let's just compare it to like LGBT, like gay marriage. At least for my parents, it's, if I told them I was gay and I wanted to marry a guy, then that's gonna be the end of the world for them, because they're like, what the hell, you're gonna marry a guy? What about our grandson? What about our granddaughter? And it's just something that they struggle to accept. But obviously for me, because I grew up not surrounded by gay people obviously, but I've always knew that was a thing, and there were gay people in my life when I was growing up, so it's not as extreme as them. So if my son or my daughter came out as gay, then I think I would be fine with it. But if they wanted to marry a robot, they're like, Dad, I'm gonna marry her. Her name is like Emma, and she's this robot. And my son brings her home, and obviously, like she would look human like this because you will have this physical robot, and obviously the manufacturers will have designed her to look like exactly like human. But she is a robot at the end of the day. She is powered by some chip, and she needs to be charged. I guess it could be some solar charging, or maybe in the future they'll have an even more seamless way of charging. So everything is human. It's this perfect girl. She looks perfect, and her personality is perfect. But the only thing is she's a robot. Even after that many years, even if I know that there is 5%, 10%, 15% of the population who are marrying robots, but my children, no matter how hard they're convincing me, no matter how much they love this robot, I think it will still be hard for me to accept this fact. Ultimately, I will accept it because I don't want to control what my child is doing. I think once they're an adult, they can do whatever they want, but it's going to be something that it's hard for me to stuff down, and I think it will be something that is going to affect my relationship with my child. Because just imagine a family gathering and he brings this girl every single time and it's a robot. Although if I didn't know it was a robot, I wouldn't feel anything because she would look just like human. But since I know it is a robot and I know it was manufactured by a big company, it's gonna be impossible for me to stuff down. So having this thought, thinking in my parents' shoes, thinking as if I was them, talking to my next generation, there are just things that will be hard for us to accept just because we grew up in a different timeline. And even if things for me seem so logical, it makes perfect sense, but for them, they've already have these set of grounded beliefs that it's almost impossible for those to change. So I've given up on trying to convince them that I want to drop out and I want to pursue business. I'm just going to tell them that that's what I will do. I will continue what you think is right. I will continue pursuing my university degree, but at the same time, I will be doing my business on the side as well. But in reality, I'm not actually doing that. So, yeah, it's impossible sometimes with certain things to convince a different generation to change their beliefs that's already grounded, rooted inside of them. So yeah, that's just something interesting to think about. I've been thinking a lot recently just about anything random. I think it's really important to not only focus on your career, creating wealth for yourself, but also on your body, obviously, your health, and more importantly, your mental and your spiritual things. So yeah, that's today's video. Hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.